Happy full moon, January 6th. Just doing a spontaneous live stream to look at the energies of this full moon to connect with the energies of the moon phase and what you need now. So let's get into it. We'll start with a Western astrology chart of what this full moon looks like. And it happens at 3:09 p.m. But you can see on this chart where you'll see an axis. There's a red circle with a dot inside of it. That's the symbol for the sun. And then there's a moon symbol. The moon symbol looks like a crescent moon, and it's directly opposite. So that is the symbol for the moon in Cancer. And if you look at the line that goes straight across with the symbol for Gemini, it looks like a Roman numeral 2. And then opposite, there's an arrow on the other side for Sagittarius. That's the horizon. And so that crescent moon, if you go down, you see it's below the horizon. So it's not visible here. Of course, it will be this evening. But at that moment of exact fullness, here it's not visible. But it still influences us. You can feel those waxing energies. So in the Western system, that sun is in Capricorn. That's that symbol next to the circle with the dot inside. And the moon is in Cancer. So we call it a full moon in Cancer. What's interesting about this, a couple of things, is you'll see next to the dot, circle with the dot, there's a yellow symbol for Mercury, 17 degrees Capricorn. So it's right next to the sun. It travels close to the sun anyway, because of course it's the closest planet. So it's always, from our perspective, very close to the sun. But in this particular full moon, it's very, very close, and it's retrograde, meaning from our perspective, it appears to move backwards across. So it's a real emphasis on Mercury, which is our nervous system in astrology, star mapping, that it links to communication, interconnection. You can think of it like the bee going to the flowers and pollinating and coordinating. It does a coordination job through all the pollinators, the bats, the hummingbirds. They really correspond with Mercury. They're like messengers. You can see that it's right next to the sun. There's other things that we could say about it, but for our purposes today, you'll see why I'm talking about this emphasis on Mercury. So I'm going to switch to another image. This is from the program called Stellarium. And you can see this is where the moon is at the moment of fullness. And in the actual sky, it's actually passing through the constellation of Gemini. Western astrology takes a point in the sky. Vedic astrology takes where it actually is. So they would say that it's in Gemini or in a nakshatra or lunar mansion called Punarvasu, which is intimately related to renewal, rebirth. So very auspicious for the first full moon of the year. Now you see the twins of Gemini, and you see the label Pollux. It's pretty much near the head in that illustration of one of the twins. And then right in the head of the other one is Castor. Those are the stars Castor and Pollux that you see in there. And it's very interesting because these will be linked into some of the functions of Gemini, which is ruled by the planet Mercury, which we just saw is very prominent in this full moon. Mercury, the messenger, links in, or they say is the ruler of the sign of Gemini. And so let me switch the slide. This is quoted from a book called Starlight, Elixirs, and Cosmic Vibrational Healing. And they talk about directly going to these stars and receiving information is a very shamanic way to connect with the stars as sentient beings or hosts, you know, nurturers of other forms of consciousness and civilizations. You can take it as a metaphor as well. But it gives you a taste of why Gemini is associated with Mercury and the mind. So in this book, they say there is a tendency for Castor, which was the one on the right, to influence the logical processes and the various aspects usually associated with the dominant left hemisphere of the brain and the corresponding opposite side of the physical body. So I'm going to skip forward and we'll go back. In the lineage of my teacher, Carlos Castaneda, they talk about the left body and the right body. Two bodies comprising what we just said. It's one side of the head, including the brain, and the opposite side of the body. So, for example, if we were talking about the right body, which it looks like you could link Castor with the right body, that would be the left side of the head and the left brain and the right side of the body. There are multiple systems that use this. I'm just speaking from the one that comes through the lineage that I've been taught through. And so they also talk about these as two different streams of energy. The right body, the right energy in the right body, which is linked to, just for our purposes, we're looking at it linked with Castor. It looks kind of like water in a tank. If you looked at the surface, like water moving back and forth, but if you go to a deeper level, it's moving in these very powerful spirals. So you could say it's spiral-like or circular, and the energy of the left body, if you perceive it as an energy field, is very wave-like, like solar flares. So we'll go back. That's going to be relevant when we look at these stars. So this moon is calling us to link with this more logical aspect of thought and the mind. It's not just the brain, it's our awareness. Castor, this left-brained part of ourself that you could experiment and see if it links with. The point of looking at it is we think of thought, if we see electrical activity in parts of the brain, that it originate there. Another way to look at it is that there is knowledge or awareness in the energy fields outside of us that we can pick up, and then you'll see electrical activity. That's one way to look at this. Another point is mental functions, like 2 + 2 is 4. We think of that as very left brain, but there's an intuitive side that goes, we could say, to the right brain and then brings it back to the left brain. So that's something to consider and look at, that it's really the integration of our bodies, our energy fields, our minds that brings coherent thought. And that's really the message of this full moon, is can we honor both? And so the other star is Pollux, works with the intuitive non-dominant side of the brain, which would be the right brain and the left body. And again, it says, this is from the book Starlight, Elixirs, the brain model is a bit inadequate to explain these higher processes. What is observed with the electroencephalogram, the monitoring brain waves, is the stimulation of various nerves in that side of the brain. And therefore it's assumed that in the formation of electrical impulse, thoughts occurs. It's not that way at all. Thought is manifested on multiple dimensional levels and then transmitted through receiving mechanisms to the physical form, and then manifests as electrical activity. So Carlos Castaneda and his teacher Don Juan would say, awareness itself is an environment. It's a field like gravity and other fields, and that there is thought out there. It's not the same as the chatter of the mind, but that thought that we can access just by being receptive, by being aware. Maybe if you study something and you do your research and then you let go, and you might have a dream and you get an insight. That's the classic discussion that Einstein dream was a part of his way that he discovered the theory of relativity. Mozart received things, quote, the voice of the angels, this idea. Okay. So this is still in the description about Pollux. When we refer to thought, we are referring to the energies that precede the actual process of electrical activity. These are often energies of magnificent and beautiful inspiration. So this takes us back to the left body and the right body. And what I invite you to do, if you'd like to, is just take a moment. You can close your eyes, just tuning into these two bodies, because our awareness is done with our whole being, which would include the body, or you could say bodies, and the electromagnetic fields that surround them, and then also our souls or our energy body. There's a lot of mystery to this, yes? So I invite you to close your eyes and just take a breath. And we'll focus first on the left side of the face, the left brain. Just putting your awareness there. And then expanding the awareness into the right shoulder, the right side of the torso. Just breathing. Breathing, imagining you're directing the breath there. On down the waist, the hips, the right hip specifically, the right side of the waist. That includes the liver and the gallbladder and the right kidney and adrenal glands, the right hip, the right leg, all the way down the right leg and the right foot, and just connecting with that whole body, the left side of the face and the head, and the right side of the body. And then we'll just take a few seconds to tune into that with the breath. And then we'll let that go, release that. And now we're going to do the opposite. Focus on the right side of the head and the brain. The right eye, the right ear, jaw, all of that. Just with our attention, breathing and directing our attention there. And the left side of the body, the left clavicle, shoulders, back and front, the left lung, torso, the pancreas at the waist, the left kidney, the left adrenal, the left hip, the left leg, the left foot. And as a unified body, it's again the right side of the head and the left side of the body, just breathing into that as one unit. And then we'll just release that, let that go. You might move your head, and then just take a breath where you feel the integration of the two bodies. So we notice the whole head, right eye, left ear, right ear, left side of the nose, right side of the nose, jaw, everything. And then gently, that breath gently sloping from the left side of the head to the right side of the body, and from the right side of the head to the left side of the body. So you see this integration. And on down the whole chest, the whole waist, right and left, all the way around. The whole womb for women, our generative centers for both men and women, and the both legs all the way down, both feet. And then just a final breath where you feel your whole being, your whole body, and the whole fields, the electromagnetic fields that go around them to create an egg-like shape. So that's a good way to practice and tune into those energies. And you could do this through and beyond the new moon. We're at the full moon, then we'll come to the next new moon on January 21st. And as we make our way to that new moon, Mercury will go direct. It's been retrograde since December 28th. It'll go direct on January 18th. So that'll give it a kind of forward motion. And so we'll notice a difference in our nervous systems. We might be looking back, reviewing contracts, conversations, decisions, life events. That's great to do during Mercury retrograde. If you know the practice of recapitulation, reviewing your life and breathing back energy you left in scenes and exhaling things you took on. This is a great time to do it. And also Mars is retrograde. So action might be more inward. Also a great time to review, go back over things you did, redo them, and then it'll go direct on the 12th. Both of these happening before the new moon. I'll go back to that on January 21st. So just noticing as you do this practice. If you want to see how all these energies operate in your own chart and look at the year 2023 that's coming up, you can go to creationflow.com under offerings, and you can see how to sign up for a session with me. I call it StarMapping session. We'll look at your StarPrint and the cycles that you will enter and encounter this year, 2023. So thank you for your attention. Happy new moon. Thank you for listening. Happy New Year. Happy full moon. Much love. Much integration.